I originally came over in 2004 to work with as a choreographer for a children's theater festival in France. And I traveled around a little bit, and I ran out of money while I was in Germany. And the only language I really spoke was Spanish, so I thought. And I said, okay, I'm going to go down and live in Spain for a little while, and then I'm going to go to Ireland, and I'm going to travel the whole wide world. And then 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, it's been 9 years.
I'm originally from Chicago, and I grew up in Los Angeles. I come from a family of 3 brothers and a family of a lot of other musicians in the family. I'm a professional musician who came here to Spain 20 years ago, and making my career here and started a family here. I, of course, had married a Spanish lady in the States we were in the same spiritual community there in Los Angeles, and we ended up coming here, and I ended up not going back.
It's a difficult time to be an artist. It's difficult to be an artist anywhere, but it's especially difficult right now, and it's especially difficult in Spain. And because it's a country that's got so much, it's got great food, it's got great music. You drive an hour in any direction, and there's just so much. But it's the government. There's not even an appreciation for their own culture. Because there's so much talent with the flamenco. I mean, just there's so much. So as a jazz vocalist, it's a little more complicated. And a tap dancer, that's even more. I'm just trying to, as much as I can, visit other places and just play in. I went to Prague this summer. I went to Sweden. Going to Germany in the fall, in the spring. Just going to different places. And when I get a chance to go to the U.S. and connect again, then I do.
To the music, the roots of jazz and blues, because I came up in a blues and jazz family like him, and how that related to us, how we related to that. How did we feel, for example, playing this in Spain? What are we doing here? There's a lot, and I found out that I have more in common than I don't in this culture, in a historical sense at least, from the North African musicians who, especially in Morocco, who today, there's many collaborations that they're doing with Delta blues musicians. And North African musicians I was working with, who they sing from village to village the whole culture of the people, and they know the history of the lineage of the people, and they try to keep the values of the people connected. That's what the griots do, and that's what really a lot of the old blues musicians did, even when they weren't thinking of that. That's what they ended up doing anyway, is they were the voice of the community, and it could be talking about anything. But the music industry has everybody, believe according to how they want to sell things to see you in a certain light. And so far, that hasn't changed. It's almost like the jazz musicians, almost like a dying species. We've been transformed into other kinds of musicians and other kinds of musics, and somebody like me, if I presented my full self and the way I think about this, I would be like a relic to some people, and I'm not that old.
In the U.S., we have, because of our history, there are a lot of, I think part of Black culture is a lot of people don't realize how much our history influences us. And in politics, I think lately in the news, what I've been seeing, it's been coming out more. But there's just a huge amount of self-hate. And I really, I wasn't happy with myself growing up. And I didn't realize that until I came here. And I saw things, people saw me from another way. Their ideas of people of color there are other things, there are other issues to deal with, but it's different because in the US, it's not just the racism between white and black or between different races or the mix of the races. It's within the black culture. And I remember when I went natural, because I always had my hair relaxed until I was, I don't know, maybe 17 or something. And it was just the comments that people make. Oh, look at all those naps and this and that and all this, you know. And it's like, but you know, that's who I wanted. That's who I am, you know. And just it's because you're less beautiful, because your skin's lighter, because your skin's darker, because your hair's coarser, because you know. And there's just so much of that. And you don't find that as much outside of the U.S. These girls singing on the street, dressed in blackface and with the big Afro wigs on. And I went up to them and I said, okay, you sing wonderfully, but this is, you know, and they listened a little bit, bothered by me being bothered by it. But they don't understand that, okay, this isn't, one of them accused me of it being my issue. I said, no, this is an issue of a country that has an issue that the whole country is messed up because people started doing things like this. We have laws, the Jim Crow laws were based on people getting dressed up like this. The media, black people across America are messed up in the head and confused and unhappy with who they are because of things like this.
In the first place, African American men, there's not a whole lot of us like it used to be. There's more of us in proportion to how the whole population is growing, but I don't believe the statistics. I hear one statistic, later I hear another. Are we really growing? Are we traveling, or what are we doing? We're known as musicians, we're known as in sports, but what about just as a normal person who went to go work in some business somewhere here? And usually when you find one, they're in some corporation here, or they're in some strange situation which doesn't give them a direct street contact like I have with the people on the street. I'm a rarity here. 20 or 30% of her time she's playing. Although they say that in her age, the children need to play a lot. That's really the major part of their education, which ties their psychology incorrectly to learning as they get older. Well, you know, the whole psychology of children. But this is her play. To all of a sudden start singing and sit down at the piano and to dance too and all of that. That, at first I was kind of worried about whether she was too much into that. And sometimes I have to tell her to stop practicing or something like that. But then I realized, no, this is something that is really part of what is other children would consider their playtime. This is her playtime.
I miss maple syrup, pancakes, corned beef hash, grits. Sometimes Reese's peanut butter cups, Laffy Taffy, stuffing. Yeah.
I think a lot of people like to go to Sevilla because it's a typical destination you find in tourists, in stories and movies and its history. Thank you for watching Take a Leap.